Welcome to the Forum, your way to keep up with state and community leaders, experts, and local business leaders. This is your chance to hear from and talk to people that affect your life right here in Rim Country. You can express your opinions by calling 474-2427. And remember, the comments and opinions of guests and callers are not necessarily the opinions of KMOG. Welcome to Rim Country Forum.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had a great weekend and are looking forward to a fantastic week. 5 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm Charlie Seraphin, and this is the Forum. We are sponsored today by Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration, the Owens Law Firm, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, Pinnacle Propane, Banner Health, Payson Medical Center, and the Dana Law Group. And, you know, I always tell you when we start out, this is really going to be a great show. You're going to really learn a lot today. Well, you are going to learn a lot, but I'm going to tell you, some people might think of it as a kind of a crappy show. I'm just going to say that because we have Green Valley Water with us in studio this morning, and we're going to talk about the name change, and we're going to talk about our environment and what these folks do. So we're real pleased to have with us Garrett Goldman, who is the district manager for Green Valley Water, and Denise Morgan, who is the administrative service manager for Green Valley Water. I can say it because I can read it right on your shirts there. That's a nice logo. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Yeah. I guess did I throw you off a little bit with the crappy thing? Come on.
Nothing we're not used to.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
That's what I was saying earlier when we were talking in the lobby. I said, man, you probably hear a lot of jokes about things, you know, and hopefully you'll think of one or two later on that you can actually share with us. So, ladies first, we're going to start with you, Denise. It's this typical question that I always ask everybody: where were you born?
I was born in San Diego, California.
In San Diego, California.
Yes.
And how did you get from San Diego to Payson?
My parents moved here in 92.
In 92. And you were one?
Close.
Close?
I was 21.
Oh, 21. Well, it had a 1 in it, didn't it?
Close.
Yeah. So if you moved here as an adult from San Diego is considered one of the most beautiful places in the world to live. The climate is perfect, right?
It is.
Pretty much. Do you miss it? Do you miss the ocean?
I do miss the ocean. I was born and raised on the ocean. I do not miss the traffic and the congestion over there.
Yeah. How about the politics? We're not going to get into it personally, but you don't miss the politics either, do you?
No, it can stay there.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we thought. And so your parents moved here when you were 21, but you had an option. You could either come to Payson or you could have stayed behind. Yeah?
Correct. I could have. Cost of living. Cost
Yeah.
of living over there is not very good.
No, it's very, very expensive.
Very expensive to live. Correct.
Yeah, and getting more expensive all the time.
It is.
Go figure, right? It's hard to figure that out. Okay, Garrett, how about you? Where were you born?
I was born in Mesa.
In Mesa? Well, that wasn't that far away, was it?
Not too far away. I didn't venture very far out. So.
Okay, so tell us about when you were a little boy, did you dream about running a sewage treatment facility?
No, that was like the farthest thing from my mind.
Okay.
You know?
Tell us a little bit about the journey. How did you become a district manager for a sanitation district?
Okay. Well, my family moved up here in '84. I was a sophomore in high school, and so I finished high school here. Went down to ASU. And got my degree and actually worked at an airplane factory for about 2 years. And much like Denise, the congestion and the traffic, and I actually got an opportunity to come back to Payson and work for a civil engineering firm. And so I jumped on that, and I think that was in 95. And in 96, I started getting introduced to what was the Northern Gila County Sanitary District as a consulting engineer, and I worked the next 22 years as an engineer for them on a consultant basis. And then in 2017, the previous general manager or district manager decided that he was going to retire, and I put my hat in the ring and got the job. So it was just a kind of a long progression of just being there, working with them, and understanding what they do. And it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Compared to other sanitation districts, sewage districts around the state, around the country, and everything. What's unique about Payson? Are there some things that are unique about it?
Yeah, Payson is very unique. One of the big things is we do a biological nutrient removal process, which is we not only treat the waste in the water, but we also remove both phosphorus and nitrogen from the water, which allows us then to be able to put our water back for reuse, reclaim water to water fields, golf courses, that kind of stuff. But even more importantly is it allows us to put our water back up to Green Valley Lake and create that amenity for the community.
What does phosphorus and nitrogen, what do they do in the water?
Well, they act as a fertilizer. And so if you don't remove them, then you get algae growth, and actually they can be toxic to the environment. So by taking those out, it creates a product or the reclaimed water that is actually usable in multiple different scenarios.
What about the hard solid waste materials? What do we do with those?
Well, those actually, because we are a full biological process, they get eaten by the bacteria that's in our process. And we remove those on a daily basis, the bacteria, which then goes up to the landfill. Actually, not our landfill here in Gila County, but down through waste management down to the valley.
Okay. And do we have some idea of what kind of volume that is of the solid waste that we take out of here?
We'll take about 7 to 8 tons a day out of the plant. So a significant amount. We actually carry about 50,000 pounds of biological material or bacteria in the plant itself.
7 to 8 tons a day.
A day.
Okay, we have, 16,000 people. That's a lot.
Do the math.
That's a lot. That's a lot, folks. Hey, folks, you need to start paying attention to what you're consuming there, what you're eating. That's a lot of processed waste, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Wow. I'm going to have to do the math on that later and see. There's something coming there. So the primary purpose of you coming on today was to get people familiar with the new name, Green Valley Water.
Yes.
Why? Why do we have Green Valley Water? Why do we call it? Where is Green Valley? That was the first question.
Well, this whole process, we've been known since 1983 as the Northern Gila County Sanitary District, and previous to that, from 1965 until 83, it was the Payson Sanitary District. And we started out this process, we needed a new logo. Our logo's outdated. You couldn't read what was going on. It just didn't make a lot of sense. And
a lot of words there.
A lot of words.
Yeah.
And as we got into it, it was exactly that. It's a lot of words. And we realized that the logo wasn't going to do it. So we needed to do something with the name also. And we wanted something that had historical geographical reference to us. And Green Valley is actually what the name of Payson before it became Payson. And so it just made sense to change to Green Valley. That did a couple of things for us. It got Gila County out of our name. We are not associated with Gila County. In the phone calls, we would take several a week of people wanting county services. And then the other thing is sanitary in the name. Well, if you're not from this area, sanitary generally means trash pickup. And so, again, we would get several phone calls a week of people wanting us to either set up trash service for them or come get their trash can because we missed their service that week.
Yeah. Denise, did you ever field any of those calls?
We do. We field them weekly. The front office, before they could even answer, thank you for calling Sanitary District, it's, where can I drop off my plans? You've missed my trash. And trying to explain everything, that we're not the trash service, we're not the county. It gets pretty overwhelming sometimes.
What is the entity? What is is it an independent company? Is it owned and operated by the municipality, by the town, or?
No, we are separate from the town. We are a governmental entity authorized under Title 48 of the Arizona Revised Statutes as a special taxing district, and a sanitary district is one of many, many that are underneath that title. We are governed by a 5-member elected board that gets elected every 2 years. It staggers through the 2-year cycle during the general election.
And do the people who serve on the board, are they all local residents of the district?
Yes, they are. One of the requirements, in fact, the only requirement other than being over 18, is that you have to be a qualified elector of the district or within the district boundaries, which means you have to live within the district boundaries.
And what are the district boundaries? Are they different than the boundaries for the town?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Predominantly, it is the town boundaries, but there's islands throughout the town that are not part of our boundaries. But we also serve outside of the town boundaries the Mesa del Caballo subdivision. So we have the ability to reach out beyond the town boundaries into the county to serve different subdivisions or communities if they so choose.
And those little islands that exist within the town, those are those septic tanks? The people on septic tanks?
Yes, it's either undeveloped land or they're served currently by septic tanks. And generally those are large lots, acre or larger lots.
Have septic tanks, are they still allowed? If somebody is they buy a couple of acres, if they can find it somewhere in town, could they run off a septic tank instead of hooking up to sewer?
If they are not within our boundaries, yes, they can. But the rules from the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality are very strict in order to put a septic tank on your property. And it's difficult. The way that the ground is here, and to get the separation from your hard rock underneath, and differences are separation from wells and that kind of stuff. So generally you end up with an alternative system, and those get quite costly.
Yeah. So an old-fashioned septic tank, not likely you're going to be able to get permitted to be able to put one of those.
They're far and few between now, yes.
Yeah. And will eventually the people who are on septic, as those things deteriorate over time, right? They wear down. They're not as effective anymore. Does that pose a threat to the clean water of our area? It's one of the things that we're proudest of, is that we have the Payson aquifer is awesome, and we were told we have a 2-year supply, even if we didn't have C.C. Cragen on the program. So
they can pose a threat, especially if they're in a high-density area, but there's not too many of those left in town. The last one that we annexed into the district boundaries was the airline loop corridor, just to the east of the airport roundabout there. And they were almost forced into coming into the district and installing a sewer system to serve that area, just because there were such a high density of septic tanks there. They were failing. There was not room to be able to do anything else with them. And so really your lots at that point became unusable just because of the sewage disposal process.
Mm-hmm. What about grinders? I had never lived in a place that had grinders before, and our neighborhood, everybody has one. Mm-hmm. I would assume that probably helps the treatment process a little bit.
It actually has a unintended benefit or consequence to the treatment process. Part of removing phosphorus is that you have to have volatile fatty acids in your flow when it comes in, and you only get that when you have septic sewage, and the grinder pumps actually create that, which then allow us to better remove the phosphorus at the treatment plant.
Oh, so it's more of a chemical thing than a physical thing.
Well, it's not an added chemical. It's just a natural process within the sewage itself that it allows the VFAs or volatile fatty acids to develop.
474-2427 is our number. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Good morning. It's David. How are you?
Hi, David. Excellent.
I'm calling to ask composting toilets. If you don't send the poop, do you still need to have a sewage system?
Well, if you're within the district boundaries, you will be required to connect to the public sewer system. on that. Whether you put a composting toilet in your house or not, that would be your choice. And but you would still, the rest of the flows from your house, bathtubs, dishwashers, all the other fixtures would end up coming to us at that point. And it is just as important that those flows are treated as well as what goes down the toilet.
Isn't the water you just mentioned considered just dark water, and people put it in their yard?
It is gray water. And there are rules with ADEQ that allow you to use that in your yards, and you can do that.
Okay.
All right.
So it wouldn't make a difference?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was an excellent question, actually. And so there are people, I don't know if there are any people in Payson, but I know in other parts of the country there are people who separate and go through that process. They have their own waste treatment, wastewater treatment, and they recycle the water from the shower, bathtub, or whatever, and use that for irrigation. And then they would go ahead and use the solid waste and do the composting that he's talking about, the composting toilet. But if you live within the district, you're going to have to be a member of the plan, and you're going to get the same monthly bill that everybody else gets.
That is correct.
And we'll talk about rates a little later, but here's another question. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Yeah, this is Alan. Hey, I got a question for them gentlemen there.
Okay.
Up above the airport on White House Drive, Graph, and all that, why is it that sewer was never brought the rest of the way around there? We are all on septic up there, where the rest of that little subdivision up there all is on sewer. And we would love to go to the sewer. I've talked to several of the people up there, and they're like, God, we'd love to get away from our septic systems.
So that area up there, it's a kind of an interesting area. When it was first developed, the entire subdivision, if you're on Graph, you're kind of on the north side of it there, was originally in the sanitary district boundaries. And back in I believe it was the early 80s, there was a petition of those homeowners to actually de-annex from the sanitary district. And the only way that works is there had to be a majority of the homeowners came together, and they came to the board and requested to be out of it because of the size of the lots that are there. So there is infrastructure that's in the area there, but there would have to be additions to the infrastructure to be able to serve those areas that you're talking about now. It is not something that's not impossible to do. It would just have to be a petition by the homeowners there, and the additional infrastructure would have to be put in as a part of that for the district to be able to serve you.
Right, and I had talked to one gentleman several years back, and he said one of the problems they wanted to come the rest of the way down White House. Well, there's a very large ditch right there with them giant culverts in it, and he said that was one of the problems, trying to figure out how to get around the culverts and everything, because the way the sewer runs down the middle of the street. So they turned it, and they never came down the rest of the way they claimed. So I don't know. So, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a really interesting kind of thing. So if the majority of the homeowners in that district got together and voted to be re-annexed into the district, they could do that.
Yes.
But the part of the problem would be they would have to pay, as the homeowners, they would have to pay the additional infrastructure improvement fees.
Yes, that would be. And generally that would be done by forming an improvement district. And just very similar to what we did on the airline loop corridor, to where the district would help to sponsor the bonds, because we do have a high bond rating, and go out and spread that out over 10 to 15 years. But the homeowners in that specific area would be responsible for that.
So do you have any, well, not knowing what the improvements were, but are we talking about tens of thousands, millions of dollars? How much would it cost to re-annex an area that needed capital improvement?
It all depends on the size of the area and how far it has to be brought in. The airline Luke one was, I believe, about $600,000?
$680,000.
$680,000 to do that area. But you divide that up over 100 houses, and then all of a sudden becomes a reasonable cost.
Yeah, over 15 years or whatever
and I believe
it is.
that one was a 10-year bond.
bond.
Yes.
Are there other bonds like that you, if you have a high rating, that means that you have been active in the bond market, and you put some bonds out and paid them off, and way to go. And
over the history of the district, there have been bonds, especially early in the district history, that were taken out. As recently, we are debt-free. We do not need to do bonds. We try to do a pay-as-you-go. If we have to go out to bonding, that just means that our customers are going to have to pay more for the infrastructure that's put in. So we really strive to remain debt-free. But with that, that also means that we have a very good rating.
Yeah, excellent. Good morning. Welcome to the forum. Who's on the line?
Hello?
Hi. Who's this?
Hi, I'm calling KMOG. I'm wondering if I can get some help finding my dog, but maybe I called the wrong number.
Yeah, if you call the business number. But I'm going to put you on hold for a second and see if somebody will pick up in the other room and help you out. Okay? Thank you. All right. Well, there you go. You don't do at Green Valley Water? Do you do lost and found dogs?
Occasionally, we will.
Actually did.
Yeah.
What, about 2 weeks ago?
It was a little longer than that, but yeah, we had a dog that had been abandoned out on Doll Baby Ranch Road, and we assisted in helping, I guess, capture the dog, and it ultimately went to the Humane Society. But yes.
See, look at that.
Yeah.
Nice job. And you thought that they were just doing the poop thing. It's a lot more than that. It really is you know what, I should apologize because I said it would be crappy. This is a great program. I've already learned about a half a dozen things, and I'm hoping that I'm going to learn a lot more. Thanks for being with us this morning. We'll have more. We're visiting with Garrett Goldman and Denise Morgan from Green Valley Water, which had another name, but we're going to forget about that, and we're just going to go forward with Green Valley Water from here on out. It's 26 minutes after 9 o'clock. We'll have more after this. Happy Monday to you. It's a beautiful day out there in Rim Country. Oh my gosh, and we had a little chilly weather over the weekend, some wind. Great rodeo here in town. Had a good time there. And as I mentioned to Garrett and Denise before we went on the air, I think the livestock definitely won the rodeo. It was about 80-3, I think. It wasn't real close. The Cowboys had a rough time, but the animals, they did their thing, and they were awesome. It was a lot of fun. So we're dealing with the sanitary district issues this morning and questions, and we've already learned a lot about, people, we mentioned this too, people don't think about it. They run the faucet or they flush the toilet or whatever, and then it's gone. It's after that, it's not top of mind. But for you, it's top of mind every day because that's what you do and that's what you deal with. What are some of the biggest challenges that we have here? Do we have chemical disposal that you find because you're testing the materials as well as treating them, right?
Our biggest challenge that we have really is disposable wipes being put down the toilet. And even though they say they're flushable, that does not mean they should go down the toilet because normal toilet paper, once it's flushed, it kind of degrades and it becomes part of the flow. The wipes stay together, and they end up clogging up pumps. They clog lines. They do affect the treatment process, and we have to remove all that before it goes into the treatment process. And one of the things that we kind of joke about is the three things that go down the toilet, the 3 Ps. It's pee, poop, and paper, and not disposable wipes.
Yeah. So hopefully everybody listening right now is paying attention to that because it ultimately adds cost to the process, right?
Yes, it does.
And it's going to come back. You're going to end up paying for it. The more pumps that break down and the more filters that have to be removed and whatnot, I could see that could really gum up the works on that.
That it does.
Are there other materials like that you see? What about chewing gum or anything else that would have a negative effect on the process?
The quantity of that kind of stuff that makes it down is generally so small that we don't really see that. But yeah, if, like I said, if it's not the 3 Ps, it really shouldn't be going down the drain. And so we find all sorts of weird stuff coming into the headworks. We have toys that make it down the toilet. We have actually a collection of them out there of things that we found.
Did the kids get to play with them once in a while?
No, they're kind of on the shelf. When we do tours, we show that off.
Okay. What kind of toys? How big a toy can go down?
Little
Hot Wheels
cars generally
Hot
about
Wheels,
that size.
yeah. Are the wheels still on?
Sometimes. It's
yeah.
amazingly good condition when they get there.
Well, so to speak.
Well washed.
Yeah. What else? What other kinds of things have you found?
Clothing. We find clothing.
Yes.
What kind of clothing?
One time we found a pair of pink pants that came from the jail. Apparently somebody went out of their cell bad enough that they flushed those down, and we caught that at the headworks. We have found money down there. And
Much? How much money?
I believe we found at least one $100 bill.
Really?
That's come through, yes. No.
Well, that's crappy.
Yeah.
Somebody threw a $100 bill down the toilet. Well,
Jewelry.
Jewelry. Yeah. One of the amazing stories is there was a lady that accidentally flushed her wedding ring. And she called just in a panic down there. We figured out about the timing it should reach us. And one of our personnel went out there and actually picked through everything and found her wedding ring.
wow.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah. Now, now let's go back to that process. How do you figure out from a street location how long it's going to take to get to the plant, the treatment plant?
We have mapping of our entire system. Now that is all digital in our geographical information system, so we can get the length of pipe from that connection down to the plant, and then just average it out about 2 feet per second is what the flow will go, or the velocity of it. And so we just did the math and got us in the ballpark, and we're able to find the ring.
Wow. I wonder if that lady, if you're listening this morning, if you're the one who got your wedding ring back from the toilet, we'd love to hear from you. What a great story. I think that would be a headline feature story. I'm sorry. That's one that I hadn't heard before. I know in some bigger cities where the sanitation workers go underground often and are cleaning out things, that was a part of the job was whatever it was, a paid union scale, but I know they all made extra money because they would sift through and find a lot of things. There's a lot of jewelry that goes down toilets, and down the sink too, that could end up in the thing. So the prompts the next question: do you have cameras in the system?
We do not have permanent cameras in the system. We have a van-mounted camera that we use for inspection of our system. So we're trying on an every 3 to 5 year basis to look at every line within our boundaries. And you'll see our crews out there. We put the camera down. We do a video inspection. It's recorded. They, at that point, will mark any deficiencies that they find in the lines, but then we can come back to the office and also look at those videos. And that's how we are planning our maintenance program right now.
When we had the town water department in, he brought with him a valve, and it was nasty. I mean, it was so corroded, and they took it back out and put it in the truck. How is our system in terms of the overall maintenance?
Our system's pretty good. You figure that the first lines were put in the early 1970s, so we're at 50 years of lines in there. We really don't have major problems. There's wear and tear that happen, and but they're usually just spot repairs that we have to go out and do, not major replacement projects.
What is the material of the primary piping system for the sanitary district?
Well, it really depends on when it was put in. The collection system that was put in the early 70s is vitrified clay. So it's actually clay pipe. And then there's been several renditions through the years as new technologies have come out. We have settled pretty much on PVC at this point.
As a clay pipe, it does get brittle as it ages, yes?
It's brittle when it starts.
Okay.
It's a very good pipe if it's laid right, but it can't be laid on any rocks. There are rocks in the backfill. That's generally what gets it. is they'll rest up against the pipe and then cause a break. Or if the joints aren't tight, then you'll get roots, and they always go for water. And once they find their way in, then they end up breaking the pipe up.
Yeah. So the goal would be to secure the joints as much as they did when they laid them and lay them in sand?
You would want to lay in like a pea gravel or a fine graded material.
Okay.
Much as you see the gas company out, all of their stuff is laid in a very fine granite, and that's what we are speccing now on our plans.
If you were going to go by percentages, what percentage of the existing system is PVC versus clay pipe?
Probably close to 50% is clay pipe, and the remainder is PVC.
Is there an age limit on the clay pipe?
No, it will be here for generations to come as long as it's maintained well through that time period.
And when you do those camera checks and you're going through, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for roots in the lines, cracks in the lines,
Yep.
And it can see all that stuff?
We can see all of that. It's like you're sitting down in the line itself when you're looking at it on the screen. It's a video that comes back, and we can sit there and look at it just like we were there.
Yeah, that's really pleasant. I'm just thinking like Saturday night movie with the kids, some popcorn, and sit down with the video of the line.
Yeah, it's pleasant when you have to sit down and go through and identify where you're going to be working in the next month or two. So,
well, it's a crappy job, but somebody's got to do it. Yeah, I gotta have to watch the word in here very carefully. God, first of all, we have to say this too, Garrett and Denise, you're really delightful people, and we're so grateful that you're doing what you're doing, because most of us do not, as you sort of told your career story, Garrett, getting into it through engineering, and there's a lot of engineering involved in it. It isn't something. The last time I asked that question, we had a young woman in who is an undertaker here in town, a mortician. And I asked her, when you were a little girl, did you want to be a mortician? And she surprised me by saying yes. And because she had seen King Tutankhamun's exhibit when it came through town, she became fascinated with mummies, and so she's always been into preserving the body of the dead, and it's just a fascination for her and a passion, and so like that. So I was wondering if I were to talk to a sanitation engineer, if I would get a similar kind of, I've always wondered what happened when I was a little boy. I flushed my Hot Wheels car down the toilet, and I always wondered where it went, kind of thing. But you didn't have any of this.
No, that wasn't in my growing up.
Wasn't in your growing up. It's 22 minutes before 10 o'clock. We're visiting with Garrett and Denise from Green Valley Water, formerly the Sanitation District with the long name, Northern Gila County. And if you have a question or a comment, we welcome them, 474-2427. We have more after this. It's a Monday edition of the Rim Country Forum. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, wherever you're listening. If you're listening here on KMOG and Payson, welcome aboard. And if you're listening online, anywhere in the world, some places where they don't have really good sewage systems or sanitary districts, in Nepal, they have a lot of issues there with their, and we have regular listeners in Nepal. They don't all speak English, but they love the sound of the show and the theme music, that little tinkling sound. They think it's great over there. We hear from them every once in a while, not regularly, but every once in a while. We're visiting with Garrett Goldman and Denise Morgan, and they are with the new Green Valley Water, which was formerly called the Northern Gila County Sanitary District. A lot of words, and they tried to make it into a logo, and that was tough because the words were splashing all over the place, and you don't want that when you're in the sanitation.
No, splashing's bad.
Yeah, splashing is bad.
Yes.
Yeah, we know that. Let's talk a little bit about the finances. You said that you're bond free right now, you're debt free right now, and the district is supporting itself pretty well. How do we compare in terms of our costs with some of the other districts in the state of Arizona or elsewhere in the country?
Well, the cost is, I guess, back up just a little bit. So we're an enterprise fund. Very similar to what the water department is, which that means that our user fees actually cover the cost to operate and maintain our system. That's our main source of income right there on that. So when you compare us, we usually compare ourselves to like Fountain Hills, and they're very close in size, flow, population, all of that with us. And our monthly cost is lower than what Fountain Hills cost is. So we're right in the ballpark with what
Considerably lower or a little bit lower?
A little bit lower.
Okay.
Not
lower.
considerably, but we're in the ballpark with what other districts are charging.
How many employees do you have?
We have 22 employees right now.
Okay. And has that been pretty stable over time, or does the number go up and down?
It's fluctuated over time. It's had a drop from about 2003 down to 2017. We only had 17 employees at that point. We've been staffing back up because we've been having a renewed focus out in the collection system. So in the collection system itself, we have almost 130 miles of gravity sewer line. There's 25 miles of low pressure sewer line, which that's what the grinder pumps hook up to. 10 miles of force mains because of the terrain in Payson, not everything flows gravity to our plant. So we have to have lift stations to lift it up over the hill to where it can flow gravity to us. And there's 14 of those out there.
And are those large collection type things that... how big are they?
It all depends. We have some very small ones, like right by Ace Hardware. You wouldn't even know it's there when you drive by it, but there's a little fence compound that's like 6 foot by 8 foot. And then we have some very large ones, like our Chaparral Pines Lift Station 3 out at the Chaparral Pines Maintenance Facility. And that one is probably 50 feet by 100 feet long. So that one's large, but it's a very regional lift station.
Are those, what are they made out of? Are they like metal tanks, or are they just depressions?
Generally concrete tanks.
Concrete tanks,
and
okay.
then they have at least 2 pumps in each one, some of them more.
And that's because in order to get from where that location is, they have to go uphill.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. So like the Chaparral Pines Lift Station number 3, it pumps from right there by Payson Concrete, and it discharges into our gravity system up behind Bashes. So it's quite a run to get to the discharge point, but that was the closest place with enough capacity that we could actually flow gravity then down to the treatment plant.
I never thought of this before, but in the sewage business, that's the whole concept of a straight line being the shortest distance between 2 points doesn't really apply, because you've got to go around all kinds of different elevations and bedrock. We have a lot of the granite that's here. In some places you can dig and there's quite a bit of topsoil. In other places, not much at all. You're just right on the rock.
Yes, it gets challenging putting a gravity sewer system in to be able to follow the contours or the topography, but also streets and lot lines, those type of things. So the system is really intricate in how it works.
Is there any place in Payson right now that doesn't have access to a main sewage line? It may not be on their property, but does it go by pretty much everything, every property?
If it's within the district boundaries, unless it's the large areas, maybe like up by the airport that just came out of trade, 5 to 10 years ago, that haven't been developed yet, pretty much any developed area has sewer somewhere close to it.
And is the cost of the development of those type of areas up by the airport, that just came from the Forest Service and the trade, is that land, will the cost be borne by the district in order to put the sewage in, or by the developer?
It's borne by the developer as part of their subdivision costs.
What else can you do as it's a separate legal entity in effect, yeah, the district?
Yeah, not so much
name.
different name, and not so much what we know as a separate legal entity.
But you're a taxing district, basically.
We are a taxing district.
And so you can tax everybody in the district, whether they hook up to the sewer or not?
Yes.
Yeah. And are the people who are on septic, are they paying something?
If they are in the district boundaries, we do have a property tax levy that they will be paying as part of that. But if they're not in the boundaries, no, they are not paying.
But we have these islands in town.
Yeah,
you said.
we do.
How many of those are there? Do you know?
They're getting fewer and fewer. But probably the main one is up behind the college in that Graham Ranch area. Mm-hmm. Large lots. just there's really hasn't been an interest, I guess, over the years to put sewage up in there. It is possible to do it, but until those homeowners come together, it won't happen.
How big are those lots generally in an area like that? Are we talking 4 or 5 acres?
Yeah, I would say 1 acre minimum, but a lot of them are up to 10 acres.
Okay, got it. 14 minutes before 10 o'clock, we're talking all things Green Valley Water this morning, and we're going to talk more about the name change in just a second. We're visiting with Garrett Goldman, who's the district manager, and Denise Morgan, who is the administrative service manager. And if you have a question or a comment, 474-2427. It's a new week, it's a new day, it's a new name, but it's the same old services. Well, no, they're not old services. They're actually the technology involved in Green Valley Water is incredible. There are a lot of moving parts, and some of it is mechanical, and some of it is biological, and that's why we need engineers like you, Garrett, to run this program. So you have a new website too, yes?
We do have a new website, greenvalleywater.org.
Okay. That'll be a little bit easier to remember, do you think? Tell me what was the old website? Do you remember?
Oh, ngcsd.org.
Oh, yeah, ngcsd. Everybody, that just rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it? Yeah.
Not as good as Green Valley Water.
Yeah,
though.
greenvalleywater.org. What are some of the other, people don't realize, but the recycled, reclaimed water that you use for irrigation, what are some of the other areas that we do? We know about Green Valley Park and the lakes there, but you do some other irrigation as well, yeah?
We do. Our water goes to the multipurpose field at Rim Country Middle School, the baseball and softball fields at the high school, and Woodland Meadows.
Football field also.
Football field as well, and the Woodland Meadows little pond.
Our Payson golf course.
Payson golf course.
Watered with our water, and then also Chaparral Pines and the Rim golf courses both receive our water.
And how does that work? That's a completely separate system, right? I mean, you have one system that's doing the collection, and then you do the distribution of the treated water.
So the water flows from the plant, and we actually have 2 different discharge permits. One allows us to go down American Gulch, which we try not to use. Our aquifer protection permit allows us to go to Green Valley Lakes. And so we pump the water, everything we can, to Green Valley Lakes. And then we have a booster station at Green Valley Lakes that's over by the Historical Society. And then that takes it and it distributes it to our reclaimed water customers. And there's about 10 miles of line out there just for distributing reclaimed water.
Somebody told me that the water in Green Valley Lakes is as good or better than the water that we are getting out of our taps. Is that a figurative kind of thing?
I think that's figurative. We do produce Class A plus water, which is the highest class of reclaimed water that ADEQ permits. And it's only about 2 steps away from being drinkable water. It would have to have another filtration process and then chlorination to become drinkable, but it is very clean water.
And does that water have any effect on the fish that live in the lakes? Because people are catching the fish and eating the fish. And
the only effect it has on the fish is it allows the fish to be there. So without our water there, Green Valley Lakes wouldn't exist, and you wouldn't be able to fish there. But the Game and Fish Department, they do testing on the water and to make sure that the parameters are all within their limits before they will stock every time. And there's no issues with that.
Do they take the actual fish themselves and do an analysis of the fish after the fact?
I really don't know that. On there.
Well, there we go. Denise, that's something you can do in addition to finding lost dogs and reclaiming jewelry that's been lost down the toilet.
Just bring some fish back. Put them under the microscope.
Now you'll have to go fishing, though. You'll have to go over to the lake and spend a couple hours of your workday fishing to catch a fish first, and then bring it back for analysis.
I would probably struggle with that.
You would?
Yes.
You're not a fisher person?
No.
Yeah, no?
No.
Oh. How about you, Garrett? Are you a fisherman?
Not so much lately.
Not so much lately.
No.
Not because of the water, though.
No,
right?
not because of the water.
Okay. So, do you think that people will get the connection between the previous name of the town of Payson and Green Valley Water?
Maybe, maybe not. We have Green Valley Lakes, Green Valley Park. It's all kind of in that area, so probably that's the connection that'll be made. But if you start tracing it back, it is a historical name for the area.
Yeah. Well, we did know that. And we think that people will remember it. I hope they will remember it.
I hope so, too.
It just sounds better, doesn't it?
It does. We are in the middle of a public relations campaign to get that information out there. Our website has a lot of great information regarding Green Valley Water and the name change.
Yeah, and also what we do and how we do it. So one of the things that we really are going to be promoting through this public relations campaign are tours. We like to give tours and really think that it helps people to better understand what we do and why we do it if they will actually take the time to come down and take the tour.
Is the tour inside the building looking at pictures, or do you get to...
No, we take you out on the
climb up?
plant and we show you. It's a pretty intricate process. There's 7 basic steps from the time the water enters the plant until it leaves. And then we go into detail, as much detail as you want, on each of those steps.
Let's kind of walk through them real quickly, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The 7 steps.
Okay. So we start out with preliminary treatment, which we have a bar screen that removes the disposable wipes, toys, that kind of stuff, anything big. And then from there, it flows into our grit chamber. So things like coffee grounds, eggshells. By the way, those are bad for the sewer system too because they settle. But those heavy materials.
So they stay in the lines, do they?
Yeah, they will
eggshells?
stay in the lines.
And eventually they will clog up the lines.
It has a potential to clog a line.
How do you clean the line if you have eggshells and that kind of thing?
We have specialized equipment. It's basically a big pressure washer that goes in the line, and we run it up, and it with about 2,000 psi just blows everything back, and then we have baskets that catch it.
Okay.
There.
Second step. All right. What's the third step?
Well, then it goes to our VFA basin, which we are not using at this point in time, and that is to promote volatile fatty acids, which we talked about earlier. But we have enough of those in our flow right now that our phosphorus removal doesn't need to have additional ones.
So that would be, and you said a part of that is because of the grinders.
Yes.
What percentage, do you have any idea of the district is on grinders? It's just certain neighborhoods, right?
Yeah, probably 20%.
Okay, but that creates enough of the fatty acids, is that what they are?
Yeah, volatile fatty acids.
Volatile fatty acids. But if there weren't enough volatile fatty acids, then you'd have to introduce those into the...
Then we'd have to promote those and actually grow them within the plant in order for the treatment process to work.
Do you have different names for the sewage as it goes through the different stages, or is it all... What do you call it?
Well, yeah.
Don't say that
So where we are in it right now is just influent. Once it goes past the volatile fatty acids basin, it goes into our activated sludge process, and once it enters that, it's called mixed liquor. So don't drink it.
Activated sludge.
Yes.
Okay.
And
that is technically. Can you describe what that is? What does that mean?
Well, that's where the bacteria live, and that's where the treatment actually takes place. There? So there's 5 stages to that.
How big is that? Is the activated sludge? If we're looking at the size of different holding areas or tanks or whatever you call them, is that the biggest one?
That's the biggest one.
That's the real big one.
That's the big one as you drive in.
Has a thing that goes around on the top, or
no? Nope. These are rectangular basins, and it comes in the top, and it just kind of flows down through the basins till the tail end of that. And that's where all of the organics are taken out of the flow. The phosphorus is taken out, and also the nitrogen is taken out from ammonia.
Then we get to the liquor.
And that's all mixed liquor in there, but don't drink it.
Why is it called mixed liquor?
It's just a industry terminology, and it's mixed liquor suspended solids is the official term for it.
Mixed liquor suspended solids. And when you mix liquor, it makes you sick. Everybody knows that,
yes,
right?
Yes,
So,
this will definitely do that.
yeah, okay.
So
you have that.
And then from there, it flows into our clarifiers. Now, those are the round basins that you were referring to,
Okay.
have a skimmer on top. And what those do is they slow the flow down, and so all of the biomass will sink to the bottom of them, and the clear water comes over the top. And then that biomass is recirculated back up to the front of the plant, and it just kind of keeps recirculating around. Then our
Can you track that? How often does the biomass get treated before?
Well, it will stay in our system for about 9 to 10 days before we take it out.
Wow.
Then from there, the water goes to our disc filters. They are 10 micron filters, so anything algae, anything big that would be left in the water gets taken out there. And then the final step that it sees is it goes through our UV treatment. So we have tubes that have UV bulbs surrounding them. They're clear tubes, and that disinfects the water before it leaves the plant.
Kills any bacteria
Yes.
that might have survived the process up to that
Yep,
point.
bacteria, viruses, all of that kind of stuff it kills.
Was there an additional, now you said the magic word virus, was there anything additionally that as an industry that you were told to do or watch for during the pandemic?
No, nothing out of what we normally do. We have a strict safety protocol that we utilize anyways, and all of the, I guess, research indicated that there was no threat of the virus as it went through our plant. And then by the time it goes through the UVs, it's taken care of anyways.
Yeah. We have so many benefits of living here that are so different from all the other areas of the country, really, and we don't want to tell what, even though they're listening in Tibet, and we're not worried about them coming over and in mass numbers and living here, but when we think about our things like the process that you just walked us through here, we're really kind of blessed to be where we are with the resources that we have. We have reasonable costs for the services, and I, for one, I am going to come out and do the tour, so
Good.
I'll be calling and set up an appointment. Is that what you like people to do? Is
Yes.
Set an appointment?
Yeah, you can. Our website actually has.
It has a form now that an individual or a group or even a field trip with a school, they can complete the form. Just give us a couple of days notice. We'll get you set up. We like to do the big groups and groups of 10 or less, and it's a great tour.
Yeah, but we'll do one person or up to 10.
Okay. Well, we're going to do that. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you.
What a neat way to start the week. That was really awesome. Garrett Goldman and Denise Morgan from Green Valley Water, the new name, and go to their website, greenvalleywater.org. Check it out and schedule a tour. Get out and see where your poop goes after you hit the button. I want to thank our sponsors this morning, the Dana Law Group, Banner Health and Payson Medical Center, Pinnacle Propane, Realty Executives Arizona Territory, the Owens Law Firm, and Sunshine Cleaning and Restoration. Until tomorrow at 9 o'clock when we'll have a new adventure. Hope you'll join us then. Charlie Seraphin saying, have a great week. You're listening to KMOG Payson. It's 10 o'clock. 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 It's 10 o'clock.